Okay, B'siyata Dishmaya, we are here in Shara Yuchud. We are going to be continuing our Jewish breathwork series called Neshama Neshima. We are up to page 57 in the book. Number 11, Besod HaSeliha, the secret of forgiving. This is a way, the secret of forgiving is a tool for us to remove stress. The more that person is sensitive in spirituality, as long as he doesn't make an order, meaning do cheshbon nefesh, sort things out inside of his inner world, there is a high chance he's going to fall into what we talked about in the last chapter, which is called holy stress, aka your consciousness, right? Your consciousness starts to get developed. As long as you don't do cheshbon nefesh and you check in with yourself, see where am I holding, what am I doing good, what do I need to work on a little bit, right? If you don't do that and talk to yourself and get it sorted out, so you fall into a guilty conscience of everything's a mess, I'm not okay. You fall into this holy stress, right? What we called last time, overdose, right? Too religious. You're too much of a dos, too much of a dati. All of this happens because of what's called kotzer ruach, right? A short breath, a lackness of breathing, a lackness of regulation in your systems. Messed up breathing, people not breathing properly. A lack of ruach chaim, a lack of a spirit of life that causes these feelings of regret that are completely unmanageable. Ethics and musar that we give to ourselves, all these lessons that we tell ourselves about ourselves, how messed up we are, and they're just destroying us. And all of this is, so to say, included into our irata onesh, our fear of punishment, that's chronic and not at all precise. It's messed up. We think we're deserving of much more punishment than we actually are. And there's a lot of people that, right, they want to put all of their efforts of spiritual growth and success into retreats and into all these different psychochokmolog, like super wisdom, psychological things that they want to, make progress in, and they go to take advice and these books and retreats and workshops. So, okay, maybe that helped once upon a time. Maybe that was a good thing. Maybe whoever has the ability nowadays to sit down with Yishuv Adat and to get through a workshop of a few days and to stop everything, it might help them. But today, most of us don't even have the minimal focus needed for such hard work like that, like a 3-day workshop or something. Most of us can't even pay attention, can't even detach enough to get into something like that. And this lack of focus just increases this chase after this feeling of responsibility. And if it's without focus, so it's as if you're just like emptying out a sack, filling it up with straw, like nothing real is happening here. And it's like Am Yisrael when they were in Egypt, Bnei Yisrael when they were in Egypt, they had kotzer ruach, they had this shortness of breath, and they couldn't even hear the good news that was meant to be consoling them and making them feel better. They couldn't even hear the news of the Geulah, that good times are coming. Right? They're not able to focus on what's happening around them and the changes for good that are happening to them, because they're so caught up because of their lack of breath in all this holy stress and all of this crazy consciousness that's telling them that they're not deserving and that they're not okay. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu has infinite mercy, and His mercifulness is expressed by way of it making easy for us to make a tikkun, to rectify these things by way of connecting to a true Rebbe. And that's how it is, that the slicha, the forgiveness, comes from being connected to a true Rebbe. Us making a little bit of effort, which is essentially just a sigh. What do we have to do? Be connected to a tzaddik and sigh. Learn how to sigh. Let a good says like this: Reb Nachman says, Likutei Moran, Torah Chet, in the 8th Torah, V'al ken ish cham yichaperenu. It says in Mishle, in the Proverbs, it says in Proverbs 16, a wise person will atone. Ki achisaron michamat avonot. The lacks that we have are from our sins. Like the rabbi said in Masechet Shabbat, Ein mita belo chet ve'en yisurim belo avon. There's no such thing as dying without doing sin, and there's no such thing as going through hardships without doing sin. Like it's written, Ufakadeti b'shevet pish'am u'v'negaim avonam. I will clean up, I will redeem them of their sins by way of a staff, and by way of blemishes and injuries, their sins. Meaning we go through hardships, we go through different difficulties. Why? To help us clean up the sins that we've done, right? It's all there for tikkun. Therefore, the tzaddik, hamamshich ruach chaim hamashlim achisoran, the tzaddik who's able at every given moment to bring down a spirit of life and to complete all of the lacks, mechaper avon, vehu megadel rachmanut, vechaninut ma'borei barach shemo. He, by way of doing that, by way of bringing down new vitality and filling up all of the lacks, he atones for sins from the great mercy that Hashem puts on him. Right? It's Hashem's mercy that's revealed by way of the tzaddik's avoda. And what is he essentially doing? He's bringing down new light that fills up all of the lacks. And all of the lacks came because of our sins. So when he fills up the lacks, what's he essentially doing? Atoning for the sin. He's removing the sin, removing the lack at its root. Shetzimtzem atzmo, Hashem took his mercy and confined and brought it down and brought it into the ruach chaim etzel tzaddikim. He brings it to the spirit of life that's found by the tzaddikim. What is that spirit of life that's found by the tzaddikim? That is the mercy of Hashem, just garmented, clothed down into this world. Meaning that they receive this ruach chaim from the Torah, and they bring this ruach chaim to all of the lacks, and by way of that, they atone for the sins. Because by way of the ruach chaim, says Reb Nachman, shlemut achisoron shemamshichim me'atzadik al yedei anacha. The completion of the lacks is brought down from the tzaddik by way of a sigh, by way of a good deep exhale. Al yedei zeh nitkaprim avonot. By way of that, you atone for sins. Shezehu pchinat ve'ish chacham yichaperena. This is the aspect of a wise person, meaning a tzaddik, a talmid chacham, will atone for the sins. And Rabbi Nachman talks about the importance of sighing many times. And if you want to go deeper in a trippier way into this, then open up Sipurei Masiyot, the Rabbi Nachman's tales, and go to the seven bettlers, the 13 beggars, the 7 beggars at the 13th story in the Sipurei Masiyot, the 13 stories of the 7 beggars. Go into there to the 4th day, and that is the beggar with the crooked neck. And there's many secrets that connect to this, right? The beggar with the crooked neck, this is not the time for that. Who got even more than Reb Nachman in this idea? Reb Natan is a Jewish principle that we have. We learn from Eliyahu a Navi and Elisha a Navi that when a tzaddik dies, his student receives double portion. He gets the Rebbe's lights and his own lights, right? And everything gets much more intense. So by way of clinging to wise people, being really close to them, being talmidim of tzaddikim, Chas v'chalila, when the time comes and that tzaddik has to pass from this world and move on, if you were close to him for a while, especially to the time when he passes away, and even more so if you saw him pass away, you get double ruach, right? So here he says, Reb Bezenson says, Reb Natan got a double ruach on this idea, and he says like this: whoever merits to come to these kinds of tzaddikim, that they have this power of bringing ruach chaim from the Torah that fills up all of the lacks, which can atone for sins by way of their size, for sure will merit to eternal good. He's fortunate. Even if he made many blemishes, everything will be rectified by way of these tzaddikim that have the power to fix all the different blemishes and sins and crimes that we can do in the world. כי הצדיקים יכולים לכפר עוונות עמו. The tzadikim can atone for the sins of his nation, of Hashem's nation, שכתוב, ואיש חכם יכפרנה. Like Shlomo HaMelech says, the wisest man of all, says, a wise man can atone for sins. Like it's written in the words of Adonenu Morenu V'Rabbeinu, Zichrono Livracha, the Rebbe Reb Nachman, a few different times, כי הם ממשיכים אורות עליונים כאלו דרך לבושים נפלאים, because they bring down super lofty lights by way of many wonderful garments. כאלה שעל ידי זה ניתתקן הכל. What is the garment here? Right? They learn Torah, they bring down Ruach Chaim, the mercy of Hashem, and when they sigh and they let that out into the world, that energy of Ruach Chaim that they sigh out into the world has the ability to fill up all the lacks and to atone for sins. According to what we say here, take a moment right now to imagine for yourself that you're getting released from all of the debts and obligations that you have that are just eating you up. Try to imagine what simcha you would have if a huge, wise tzaddik was able to convince you that you were completely forgiven for everything that happened in the past. And right now you're completely clean, brand new page, nothing wrong, 100% clean. The chacham, the tzaddik, he caused such a great forgiveness to come down to the world. Ein kan ketem ve'en roshem. There's no stain here. There's no impression of sin. There's no mark left over. Everything is white as snow. How amazing does it feel? What a release do you feel right now when you can imagine that like that? And everything is right in front of your eyes in a moment. So what is this forgiveness that we're so trying to get to, that we're all trying to seek out so much? That it heals us from all of this spiritual stress that we can feel. First things we have to understand, what causes sins? The answer is one answer only: shigaon, craziness, losing your mind. How did Chazal call this? Ruach shtut, a spirit of folliness, a spirit of messing around, of playfulness. It's the opposite of the Ruach Chaim, the spirit of life that the tzaddik brings down. A person who sins pulls down on them Ruach shel shtut, a spirit of folliness, of foolishness, of despair, of darkness. He probably breathed in some polluted air, physically or spiritually polluted. And with that, he did whatever he did, until he did something metoraf, something crazy, mamash. And then there's a concealment in his experience of the supernal light that he had once upon a time resting on him, this godly presence. And now there's infinite lacks that are given birth to, and more lust and more confusion. And now he's completely not in light, he's surrounded by darkness. He finds himself in a cloud surrounded by darkness. Until the chacham, this tzaddik that we mentioned before, comes and takes him out of his pit. And then he brings down light on him again, and he has this supernal light of Hashem on him, as if he was born again, mamash, as if he was completely born right now, a brand new baby, never did anything wrong in his life. זהו מגודל רחמנות וחנינות הבורא יתברך שצמצם עצמו להיות הרוח חיים אצל הצדיקים ובזה מכפרים העוונות. So what Reb Nachman said, this is from the great mercy of Hashem that took down and concealed and constricted himself to be the Ruach Chaim, the spirit of life that we find in the tzaddikim. And when they exhale and take a sign to the world, they atone sins. What is the Chacham doing? What's really happening up above? We've explained now what's going on, but now we know the theory, right? But what's actually practically, what is he doing to atone for sins? There's a place up above that no blemish can get there, no stains can be made there. If you want to know more about this, open Tomer Dvorah in the 8th Midah. The 8th Midah says that Kovesh Avonot, HaKadosh Baruch Hu conquers sins, and he doesn't let them reach to high places where the mitzvah goes. Meaning, let's say a person has 30 30 points of mitzvahs, right? 30 mitzvah good rewards that he's deserving of. And he has 10 sins. So you could say, let me take these 10 sins. I'll clean out, not get rid of any punishment for them. I'll clean out 10 of the mitzvot out of the 30 that I have, and I'll be left with 20, right? Just, exchange it like that, and then I don't have to. Hashem says, no. No way. For the 10 sins, you got to clean that mess. I can't use your mitzvot because your mitzvot are from such a lofty place that no sin could ever equal. The sins are rooted in Gehenom, in the darkest places possible, and the mitzvahs are the highest worlds. I can't exchange it like that. It's not exchangeable. The currency is not the same. So there's this place. There's this place up above that has complete cleanliness, no blemishes, no stains, nothing is possible to be done there. And a tzaddik who's connected to that place, like a son in the treasure chest of his father, he's connected to this idea of shenitapecha kol letova, that everything will be flipped to good. Right? Reb Nachman said, Yesh inyan shenitapech akol letova. Mitzvah gedola liyot b'simchat tamid, right? If a person believes that he can break it, that means he automatically believes he can fix it. If you believe you have the power to break it, or that it could be broken, then that means that it has the power to fix. Everything has a balance in life. So this tzaddik is connected to this place of shenitapecha kol letova, that everything transforms to good, and he brings down from there, down to the depths of the darkness, a pure light, this pure light that comes down, so then any stains down here are removed. It's a powerful bleach, it's a white light, it's a pure white light from a high place. It comes down here, all stains are removed. All stains are removed. Then islach lanu, and we're forgiven. Uvilvad sheitchabru elav belev uvenefesh. What's the t'nai? What's the condition for this? What's the one thing you have to do? You have to be connected to the true tzaddikim with your heart and with your nefesh, with your soul, with all of your might. Kru'im kechol shelo yu. As torn up as they might be, your soul and your heart, they have to be connected to the tzaddik. They have to be connected to the person that's able to do this, truthfully. Not just for this, for everything, for the whole package. There's no such thing as an anti-stress medicine in the world that could come close to this. No pill could do this for you. If we merit to this level of forgiveness, we merited to true joy, to tranquility. A wise person who was able to convince us and to teach us and to show us how really there's no stains down here. It's a new page. We're started over. It's really all good. You were forgiven. So now here's a practical piece of advice. People always want, right, the techniques and practical advice. Anacha. Asai. Asai, anacha. Remember the word anacha, aleph, nun, chet, he, is a name that deals with a few different types, in general, all different types of neshimot, right, of breath. But in specific points, like now, like what we're talking about here, it's a neshifa ukadaika. It's specifically a long exhale. Anacha in general is breathing in Hebrew. It could be used for many ways to explain, to just talk about breathing. Here, when we talk about anacha, we're talking about a long exhale, what we call in English a sigh. Letting it out. The rest of our breaths don't always have a voice that comes out with them. This anocha, this sigh, is meant to come out with a certain sound. V'mukar kitiviu, it's recognizable sound. Why? Because it's the natural one. It's not some forced thing. It's not forced. If you just let your voice make a noise while you're exhaling, that's what's going to come out. It's nothing forced. This anacha, this exhale should be done with a simple intention. Like a person who's screaming out, die, enough, enough. This darkness is strangling me. And the more that you have a connection to the teachings of Reb Nachman, listen to what he has to say to you. How to pull his ruach, the ruach of Reb Nachman, that is a pure ruach that just knows how to heal, that just knows how to bring healing. How do you do that? להחליף את הרוח שטות של מחלת מצפון מבולגנת על ידי חיבור אווירי עם הרבי. Transfer and change out, exchange your ruach shtut that you brought on yourself, this spirit of folly, this spirit of nonsense, of lack of emunah, and change that has this messy consciousness that's messing with you all day long, and switch it out for the air of the Rebbe, the vibe of the Rebbe. So, my dear precious friends, let out a true sigh. Let out a true sigh, and another one, and another one, and another one, until you feel released, until you feel forgiven. Zat Hashem, we're in the middle of this, still keeps on going for more. We're going to stop here for now. Zat Hashem, and get back to it another time. Don't forget to sigh.